A series of new developments out of Fulton County, Georgia, signaling the potential for a blockbuster trial. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution reporting top senior Trump officials are included on the prosecution's nearly 200-person witness list. Among those names, former Attorney General Bill Barr, who Trump called a coward during an event last night, Steve Bannon, who Trump called the greatest BSer last night as well, and former Vice President Mike Pence, who we all know Trump said to hang. And in exclusive new reporting in The Guardian by my next guest, previously unreported emails suggest the prosecution is dropping pretty obvious hints at its endgame for some of the defendants in the Georgia RICO case. While communicating with the attorneys for the remaining RICO defendants, Fulton County DA Fani Willis writes, quote, "We have a long road ahead. Long after these folks are in jail, we will still be practicing law." The operative word there being jail. Joining me now is Hugo Lowell, political investigations reporter at The Guardian. Hugo, as always, it's so good to have you here. Let's start with your exclusive reporting about those emails. That's kind of a dicey energy going on between Fani Willis. You know, kudos to her for standing up against a complete flank of attorneys. But to her point, and this actually dovetails with your other exclusive reporting, no plea deals for the kind of top lieutenants to Donald Trump. So is she just laying the table or setting the table for just total hostilities there?
I think it was a particularly aggressive email chain, and I think the defense counsel saw it as presumptive, but I think it gives you an idea of the kind of endgame that the DA's office is envisioning in this case. They clearly intend to take it to trial. They clearly intend for some defendants, as you say, to not be given plea deals and to see it all the way through to the end. You know, we had previously reported that Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and Mark Meadows were among the people who the DA's office was not interested in pursuing plea deals with. And if you kind of think about that and you think about the latest email in which they're saying, well, we expect jail sentences in this case, it kind of suggests that those are the candidates they expect to send to jail.
And then kind of the next kind of logical question to you. You and I obviously in court following the case in Fulton County, very detailed. We've been waiting for a trial date from Scott McAfee. Our viewers have been waiting for this trial date. Do you think the fact that she has announced no plea deals for Trump, Meadows, and Giuliani would actually help inform the decision as to when a trial date gets set?
We had heard privately, according to our sources, that the DA's office had privately told the judge, Scott McAfee, that, you know, you should maybe delay setting trial dates or setting schedules quite just yet because we might be getting more plea deals. You know, this was a month or so ago. And so I think there are a lot of moving parts in terms of a potential trial date. I think the other thing that was interesting is we do have a proposed trial date. You know, the district attorney said
August 2024.
We want an August trial date. We want plea deals to end July. That still gives them a lot of time to secure additional witnesses who might want to flip and cooperate for the state.
So let's shift gears. Let's talk about the fact that tomorrow is supposed to be the last witness on behalf of the defense in the New York civil fraud case being prosecuted by the Attorney General, Letitia James, that star witness being Donald Trump, maybe a star only in his own mind. That limited gag order from Justice Engoron having been put back into place. My theory is the gag order itself doesn't prevent Donald Trump from testifying. It just prevents him from saying horrible, violent, nasty stuff about Justice Engoron's staff. Do you think Donald Trump's going to testify tomorrow?
I think we should expect him to testify tomorrow. I mean, I don't know how long it will be. You know, when he previously testified, when he was being questioned by the New York AG's team, it was a lot of Trump infomercial. It was a lot of, oh, you know, we were going to build on these properties anyway, and that's why, you know, we inflated these values, which, by the way, is not standard accounting practice, as you know. So that was, I think, a specious argument. But he also had a lot of attacks for the judge and attacks on the case while he was on the stand. And I think it will be interesting tomorrow because if he does testify, because he will be precluded from saying anything that goes towards you know, the judge, the court staff, as he probably wanted to do. And I think he will have to be much more restrained. And I wonder how much that affects him personally.
And I want to bring to our viewers' attention the following. Last night, you were at a New York Young Republicans event that Donald Trump was in attendance. And I think this is just a classic example, Hugo, of how the lines in Trump legal world get blurred between legal representation and political campaigning or political involvement. Alina Habba was there, right? Sitting near Donald Trump, if not next to him. Who else was there that you saw?
We had Alina Harbour, who's one of the lead attorneys in the civil fraud case. We had Boris Epshteyn, Trump's in-house legal counsel.
Who some say is quarterbacking all things legal for Trump, correct?
I think that's a way to see it. I see him as a kind of a general manager that kind of coordinates all the legal teams. You know, he basically bridges the gap between the legal team who are filing court briefs and Trump's inner circle. And he kind of has a foot in both camps, and in that way he bridges that divide. You know, I think it has been a feature of Trump world for the last 2 years to have a legal team that is increasingly intertwined with his campaign team. And, you know, I think a lot of people inside Trump will say the reason that Trump started to run in the first place was because he thought it would insulate him from all of these criminal cases he could see coming down the pipeline. And to date, we have actually seen that strategy be true. You know, whether it's the classified documents case, where he is saying, you know, I was president and so I have these, I should be able to see different filings, or whether it's in the January 6th case where he's invoking the fact that he is running for president as an excuse to, you know, or try and push the trial date out or file his motions to dismiss. And so I think it is a feature that we will see going forward.
I will leave with the following. Trump saying last night at the New York Republicans Club Gala, Al Capone, he complained, Al Capone, the greatest gangster, only got indicted once, but Trump's been indicted 4 times. But as we know, Hugo, Al Capone was convicted and went to prison for tax evasion and not for some of the other offenses. So maybe Trump will go to prison 4 times over then if he wants to be better than Al Capone. Hugo Lowell from The Guardian, thanks for being here.